Hey there. So this one might be considered a little bonus episode to the Musima 1657 restoration because I just got this one in the workshop here, and it's, as you can tell, the base version of this. Well, at first glance you can already see it has the earlier pickups on there, but still overall almost identical instruments. So I suppose there are like maybe a few years between them at most. But in all other respects, those are like basically identical guitars. Same bodies, yeah, same headstock shapes if you compare those. It's just a little bit longer scale length and the older pickup version. I was asked for advice if I could repair the bass version here or maybe do a similar restoration on it. And I want to use this video as an opportunity to highlight some things that can go wrong with an instrument over time, because as you can tell, it's not in great shape. And I actually declined the repair on this one, and I will show you how I got to that decision. So how do I approach something like that? Well, first of all, I would check for completeness in general. So at very first glance, we can tell the pickups are there, which is great. Electronics are completely missing. We have the original bridge and tailpiece, which is nice. Obviously, the guitar is in parts, so I just set this here. There's nothing bolted to anything. On the neck, somebody had removed the frets previously. Some sections of binding are missing. And on the headstock, we are missing the truss rod cover, but the original tuners are there, as well as most of the screws we need. And this is all that remained of the electronics, just one pot and no real circuitry or anything, and the plastic knobs obviously are missing. While we're at it here, we can take a closer look at the tuning machines. If you look closely, those metal buttons or whatever we want to call them, somebody retrofitted these. So this is just cut out by hand from a piece of that's not aluminum, that's some type of steel, I guess, and riveted on the shaft. The shaft would originally not have the slot, so I'm pretty sure somebody cut the slot, drilled a hole, and riveted this on. And they did three almost identical ones, and then there's this, little crude version. But I don't blame them, at least it got repaired. On old Musima bases, this is a problem you see all the time. Very rarely will an instrument have the original tuner buttons, because those were made from some type of like white plastic that turned super brittle. The original ones would have looked, believe it or not, like that. So this little almost flower shape. This is a 3D printed reproduction I'm prototyping recently. So yeah, much smaller. And imagine those in like a cream white or off-white. But anyways, the originals are there. We have all the other missing parts like the posts, bolts and the gears, which is nice. Those will be the mounting screws for the pickups. They're often like replaced with different ones, and those are original. Pretty nice. These are the neck mounting screws. The output jack is obviously replaced. The original ones had like plastic jacks that always crumble to pieces. So this is like, yeah, just an off-the-shelf replacement thing. And finally, for the electronics, this pod is original. It has the very typical East German rectangular shape. There's also one little cap still on there. We've seen a similar like shielding or grounding plate made from brass in the guitar version. Let's see if we can make out some of the numbers on the back. Maybe there's the date code. Yeah, not sure about that. Right at the bottom it says like 1M1, which could be 1 meg. Above that is the manufacturer's logo. Then it says in ink 41304. No idea, it doesn't seem like a date code to me. The one in the triangle is like a quality marker. It's like first choice or like A quality. And then it says 766. Am I right? That could be a date code. That could easily be like, yes, 76. Maybe it's like June, or is it like 6th week? Maybe June might make more sense. But I think this is like a plausible date, given that my guitar version had a 77 stamped in the neck pocket, and it has the more modern pickups. So who knows, maybe it's a 76 guitar. A 76 bass, obviously, pardon. So far, so good. If we look at the rest of the parts here, the tailpiece is not nearly as corroded as mine. This will polish right up and look pretty decent, I think. The holder thing for that is quite rusted out, but yeah, anyways. The bridge is all original and not damaged or anything. This is usable. And I already checked the pickups just by measuring continuity, and both of the pickups seem to work, which is a big plus, because from what you read, at least the guitar versions of those are like pretty coveted and many players seem to like them. In construction, they are made very similar to like old gold foils. So you can tell there's this bent piece of metal here with grub screws inserted as pole pieces. Then the coil on a plastic bobbin on top, and there will be 2 bar magnets on either side. So almost identical to these old like Teisco gold foils. There's obviously a guitar version of this pickup with 6 pole pieces, which is, I think, completely identical apart from the pole pieces, but I'm not exactly sure. And both of those are working, which is like one of the biggest factors in restoration of an electric guitar or bass. The one in the bridge position even has this funny looking plastic spacer. It's original, but I think this is one of the more rare spare parts, because those often disintegrate and break and crumble, but this one looks totally fine, which is great as well. So yeah, so far it looks pretty good. So why did I decline the repair on this one? Is it because there's some frets missing? Is it because there's some damage in the finish here, which is from an old piece of tape or something? No, it's something else. And for that, I will take off the neck, which is like not bolted on at all. And I will grab a straight edge. Now look at this from the side. So it's an arched top, obviously, but with the straight edge, you can tell there is something seriously wrong with this guitar. It's terribly deformed. There's like the largest sink in the bridge position, so the bridge would be roughly here, that I've ever seen on a guitar. It's like insane. And it's not just that. There are like multiple open seams, as you can tell on the binding right in front here, all the way around. The guitar is literally hanging on by a thread. It's almost falling apart, which tells me it has been stored in terrible conditions. This thing probably sat in like a shed outside or whatever, under full string tension for decades, where it constantly got changing humidity and temperature, so it really terribly deformed. The way this body is constructed doesn't exactly help the fact. So we have all laminated materials. This is like a plywood top, plywood back, plywood sides, but there is no real bracing in there. I looked inside with a mirror and to inspect it, and it's like identical to the guitar version. So there's a pretty large neck block up here. And this is the area that held the shape. So up here it's totally fine. And then it suddenly starts sinking down. And that's because there are no braces. Usually you would find two parallel braces in an archtop like that. But in this one, there's just a small piece of flat sawn. I believe it's flat sawn. Let's check. Ah, no, it's not. In all fairness, it's close to quarter sawn. But anyway, you can tell it's just about 10 millimeters thick at best to the sides here. And this is just, it starts off here, about this shape, and goes to the back. And there's nothing supporting it in the front here. So it just had to collapse. The back actually looks pretty good. It retained its shape, so if we check the straight edge on there, this is what we want to see ideally. So like a continuous arch going all the way through. And even the sunburst looks much nicer, so you can tell this was stored against the wall this side or whatever. It's losing some paint. Yeah, whatever. The deformation of the top is not the only problem on this instrument. If we look in front, for example, the force on there from string tension caused the neck block to twist or bend in motion like that, which caused it to crack. So the sides are completely gone. Both sides aren't connected to the neck block anymore. And the neck block itself has cracks in there. The top is even loose. And it's, I don't know, it's tough to get it back on. So if you look here, this is all loose. Then the sides itself and the top have separated in like multiple places all the way around. Yeah, the guitar is basically falling apart. Look at all that paint in the neck pocket here. That's a thick layer, wow. And oh, look, I think that's a factory shim that looks like it has been painted over. I don't know. How did they do that? Whatever. If we take a look at the neck, the headstock has finish wear, but I don't think that's a problem. The original string guide. The truss rod nut looks pretty worn here, so somebody tried to use a pair of pliers or something on it. That's not great. And now if we check out the fretboard, let's see what the straight edge says. Yeah, right away we can see lots of light here, so that's not super straight. But I don't care too much about that because the fretboard is actually almost completely loose all the way around. See how far I can get the feeler gauge in there? This is like delaminating. This wouldn't take much to get it off completely and on both sides. So see, this is really hanging on by a thread only. And in the process it developed like a cup shape, so the ends have come up like that, both sides, which tells me it might be very difficult to glue it back down and get it straight in the process. You can tell the large gap on the side and how deformed it is. Yeah, this is like a significant back bow even without any tension and with the truss rod tightened. And flipping it over to the back, it gets even worse. This is a two-piece neck from, I think, Beach. Somebody actually sent it off the finish here. I don't know. Is it from the factory? I can't tell. Those are like two sections glued together. Or is it three? No, it might be three. Hold on. So there are like two outside and like a small center section. And one of the glue joints between those seems to have opened up, and I can get my feeler gauge in part way between some of them, which is never nice. Yeah, so overall, can this base be repaired and brought back to life? Maybe. It would definitely take a lot of work. You would have to remove the fretboard. Maybe it might not be able to straighten it back out, so it could be necessary to make a new fretboard for it. In this case, the neck itself may fall apart, the truss rod may be damaged, so who knows? Maybe it can be fixed, maybe it can be re-glued, or maybe a new neck needs to be made. For the body, I don't think there's any chance at getting that crazy deformation out of the top. There are certainly some tricks and some things can be done. There's the option of like casting a plaster mold of the back and trying to heat press the front into that shape over time. But since almost every glue joint on this guitar is falling apart and most pieces are deformed, and for instance, like the big cracks here, I cannot force them back into alignment. If something can be easily brought back to the place where it belongs, it's possible to glue it, but if it really fights and there's like no chance you can even get it back in the original position, it's a very tough call to glue it back together. So we also have to consider the general market value of an instrument like that, which, while not being super common, and yes, it's quite a rare bass, but you can find working examples in the lower 3-digit price ranges. So let's say maybe like 300 euros wouldn't be uncommon for a playing working instrument. And this thing is just so sad to look at. I mean, it's so bad, it's almost funny. I think the value in this one is, first of all, the parts. And by that, I mean mostly the pickups here. If they sound as great as I'm told, it might be something to save the pickups and use them on maybe some custom build project. Could be pretty cool. Don't know about the tuning machines, maybe not, but yeah, this is, I think, what you call a wall hanger or some decoration to put up. As sad as it looks, you know. Nut width is about 42 millimeters. String spacing from center to center would be roughly 33 millimeters. Neck width at the 12th fret. We have to account for the radius here. I mean, it's not to the 10th of a millimeter, but it will suffice. It's about 52 and a bit. String spacing at the bridge, center to center, would be just 48. Finally, the distance from the 0th fret to the 12th fret is bang on 40 centimeters, which makes it an 80 centimeter or like 800 millimeters scale length, which makes it around 31.5 inches, for whatever that's worth. I think that's still considered a short scale. I don't know. The pickups both have an identical pole spacing of 46 millimeters. They're like completely identical in construction. So just by looking at it, you can't really tell the difference between bridge and neck other than the color of the bobbin here. And also I noticed, while the wire on this one is just like the shield and the core wire, the other one does actually have 2 core wires in one shield. Let's measure them. Around about 8K. seems reasonable. And roughly the same, 7.9, on the one with the 2 core leads. But notice here, the shield is not connected to the coil itself. The coil is merely between those two. I suppose they did that for, I don't know, grounding reasons, hum reduction. Would be interesting to look at the original circuit in there, but unfortunately we don't have that anymore. But yeah, 2 working pickups for sure. Let's check the magnetic polarity. Yeah, so both are south pole facing up. So yeah, for sure that won't be a reverse polarity, reverse winding set. I don't think that was around back then, or at least not in Eastern Germany. Yeah, well, overall, it's kind of sad to decline the repair on this one, but currently for me, it doesn't really make any sense. Neither financially, nor am I sure I can actually get it back together in a reasonable amount of work. I hope at least this video gave you an idea of a shape a stringed instrument can take over decades of neglect, and it might help you when you look at something like that in the future. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching, and see you next time. Bye.